which I guess gave me some sort of wisdom, if you want to call it that. That's the word I'm gonna
I
use.
don't know if it would exist.
Look here, I've got like 5 grey hairs that popped up, probably like in the last month alone.
Hello, friends. I'm Jennifer.
And I'm Mo. And this is, what is this?
The T.O.E Podcast.
Do you want to?
Yeah. So, two opposite ends. Do you want to elaborate?
Yes. Yeah. So, Two Opposite Ends podcast. Hence, though, we've got like, these people in the back laughing here, but anyway. Anyway, so though being like two opposite ends, like the acronym, right? Why? Like, why? What's this all about?
Basically, we ultimately we have a common goal, right? Just in terms of what we want to do with this and where we want to go with it. But we do have really different approaches in life in general, and also really different ways of communicating. So that's where the name Two Opposite Ends.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, she's got no filter.
Yeah,
And
my husband's gonna be really concerned about some of the things that go down in this podcast, but
yeah.
okay.
Whereas me, I'm more philosophical. Can I use that word? I like the gentle approach, like understand. Not to say that you don't understand things, but yeah.
I'm a lot more straightforward than him. So
pretty much
going forward, we are going to tackle topics from life to relationships to parenting. Obviously, with us both having a coloured background and having moved to immigrated to New Zealand at really different stages of our lives. So we'll start off talking about that, and we'll kind of move into different topics, different areas, but ultimately it's basically brown eyes in a Western world, okay?
Pretty much. Like the thing is, like she said, we stay in New Zealand, and obviously we coloureds. Yeah, by the accent, Cape Malay in particular. So, like you said, it's tackling the world from that standpoint, and I think we as coloureds, we don't. I think our voice is not loud enough. I think that's the thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like the world.
We don't move with purpose.
Yeah.
So maybe our voices are loud. I speak for myself here. But
your voice is loud.
Yeah, pretty loud. But we don't always come together and unite and like move towards a common goal or like the direction that we should be moving towards to make our community stronger. And that's why we always come out lost. Should I not say lost?
No, but that is
but it is. It's true, right?
That is the case.
Especially in South Africa, we always come out at the bottom because we can't unite as colors. It's just idiot.
Yeah, and it's and like you said, it's tackling conversations that people don't want to have. Like you said, relationships, family, but it's like it's all the issues and stuff that come with it, right? And navigating through this and living the time we're living in now as well. Things are changing, like rapidly changing.
And also remember, we're millennials, so we have a little bit of both. We're both raised by boomer parents.
Boomers.
The boomers. And
baby boomers.
So
Daddy, that's you, baby boomers.
Yeah, but we grew up in like a really different way to how we raising our children. So bear in mind, we're both parents. We're not together. Yeah. We're friends. We have other spouses that are behind the scenes. But yeah, we are friends and we both are parents, spouses, whatever. So we'll be talking.
Yeah, and you'll see like basically the common way that you do it is, and this is how it came about. In fact, this came about like what, 2 months ago maybe.
You forced me.
Your husband is behind the camera. Like you were my witness.
No, okay, didn't bully me. So
I would do no such thing.
Yeah, no.
But
it was Mo's idea ultimately. And he was just like, come on, you have such a podcast personality, and I didn't know you.
Yeah. I think the thing is like if you look at like we clash in the beginning, like when we're talking about a topic because like the approaches are different, right? So she's got a particular way of going about it. I've got a way. So from the get-go, it's like we give each other a hard time, or I give her a hard time. But then at the end of it, it's like actually the goal is common.
We generally agree on it.
Yeah.
At the end of it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where this
But
comes
we
in.
fight
So
about it first for like an
yeah,
hour.
because like she's useless when
No,
it comes to
no.
that type of thing. So just say anyway.
You guys can be the judges of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk a little bit about ourselves, and then we'll go into like how we got here.
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah. So you go first. Tell them about what makes you so smart.
I am a wife. I'm a mother of two. I have a 5-year-old and a 6-month-old. I'm an occupational therapist by trade, so this is not my main job. So if you want to watch. If you don't want to watch, not gonna affect my life. But
you see?
But yeah, this is not my
Please watch. No,
so I'm literally doing this because I feel like not everyone is telling Mo about this. Not everyone deserves a platform, and I think a lot of people have platforms and use their voices, and not always for the good. And we want a light-hearted podcast where we don't talk too much about. We talk about serious things, but we don't take it too seriously. But also, we want you guys, as the viewers, as the watchers, to come out of it with like a positive mindset and to relate to us. And so we're all about being relatable as millennial colors in a
yeah. And I think the other thing is just sort of touching on that. It's like the end goal is like we're obviously having these conversations, and you want to come out with something that works for you, something important, right? And obviously, with her being female, me being male, that's also like a different like perspective, right? So
and we do really different things in life as well. So
yeah, so that's another thing that we want. Yeah, we want like people to watch and go, okay, cool, like I can relate with that, bro.
Yeah.
And then obviously there's gonna be the other side of the coin where they're like, actually, I like the way she goes about it, and that's the point. It's to be relatable from both sides, and that's again two opposite ends. So yeah. Anything else you want to say? No, not that special.
You'll know about stuff, but there's a lot of things that I also don't feel like needs to be in Canada. So, but that's all you need to know about me. I'm a wife and a mom first, and
husband's behind is like, yo, you didn't introduce me. What's my name?
Oh, my husband's trying to introduction.
You probably heard him whisper there. And by the way, guys, so we're real. Obviously, we're real. We're not AI, we're real. But when I say that, like, we're not here to hide. It's nothing's perfect. So if you see or if you hear at least the children coming into the video, like deal with it. It's normal. If you don't have your children running in the background, that's weird. So just letting you know.
Our kids go where we go.
Yeah. So yeah, something to remember. But anyway, me same thing. Husband. Yeah, got a wife, got a 3-year-old.
Husband first, because the wife comes first.
You see, we're gonna be talking about the stuff, guys.
Yeah.
My background, personal training background. Did that for about 10, 12 years. Fortunate enough to work with a lot of good people, but with that also came a lot of situations where I was fortunate enough to sort of work with people through certain issues and stuff, right? Which I guess gave me some sort of wisdom, if you want to call it that. That's the word I'm gonna use.
I don't know if we call it wisdom.
Look here, I've got like 5 gray hairs that popped up, probably like in the last month alone.
That's just old age.
No, I'm gonna go with being wise. Okay. But anyway, so there's a wide I think with what we have done, there's a lot that we can potentially pass on to the next person. I'll call this somewhere like a unprofessional opinion from us. Like it's not like professional opinion. That's a podcast, right? But anyway, so yeah, that's like a little bit about me. And I think as we explore, you're gonna get to know us a little bit more because we'll touch on certain topics. We will draw on I guess our life experiences.
Yeah, maybe? I love experiences.
Yeah.
As millennials, as colored, Cape Malay, background, as parents, partners, everything. Okay. But let's get into it because no one wants to know that much about us. Let's talk about. I'm like checking the time on my phone. Yeah, because this is obviously our first podcast, so we're kind of winging it here. So we're gonna see where this goes. I think the first topic that we discussed basically was
I guess the common goal, or not goal, the common ground that we have is the fact that we're both in New Zealand. We're both coloured, both Cape Malay, and there's a lot of us over here and all over the world, right?
Yeah.
So we sort of want to touch on that because you obviously came over how many years now?
3.5 years ago.
Okay.
So I'm a first generation
immigrant
or migrant, whatever you want to
Is that what you call it?
expect.
First generation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I came here.
Wait, what I mean? So what am I? If I came as a child?
Second generation, because your parents came in.
Didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Apparently so. Yeah, second generation. That is a thing. So I came over when I was 12.
A tween.
Yeah, it was a little pipsqueak. So basically, that in itself is like, there's a massive contrast there, right? So her being a parent and me being a child coming over. So we want to touch on that because there are people that's over here that I guess would be going through what we've been through as adults, as well as like children coming over. So this particular topic might be split into what, maybe two episodes. We'll see how it goes.
Because there's a lot to talk about, and also like just thinking about why we thought this would be a good
place to start.
Yeah, good place to start was when we were looking at Maz and I was also looking at imitating. I was watching a lot of like YouTube videos of families who immigrated, and specifically South Africans. And a lot of, even though there's a big South African coloured community in New Zealand, we managed to find each other. But yeah,
unfortunately.
Unfortunately, look at me play nice. But yeah, so there wasn't a lot of videos out there talking about the lived experiences. It was a lot of white people, just other people, but not people that I could relate to.
So on that thing, right, you're obviously looking for that, like that type of experience through people. So what were you looking for? Like what?
So ultimately, like I have a vast group of insight from all different backgrounds and stuff, but you have a community, a specific community, right? That you like feel like you belong to. We're all looking for belonging in life, right? But also more importantly, we Muslims, right? We South Africans, and I came like myself and Mazen, we came over with a toddler at the time. He had just turned 2. And we wanted a community where he could also grow up and like relate to things that were similar to him. So just to make his transition a bit easier, because it was just the 2 of us. We don't have any family here, or at the time we didn't have any family here. So yeah,
that was like a big concern.
Yeah, it was a big concern for me, and that was something that we were looking for, and that was something that I was looking out for, but I just couldn't find on the internet. Yeah.
So I guess like, actually that's a good point, because like me being like a child coming over, and I think my wife can also relate to this, is like, it's a different vibe, right? It's a different vibe.
Yeah, because your wife also came over.
It's weird. It's actually so weird. Like, and we're gonna get into this, but I think being a child that comes from Cape Town, you're used to seeing your people. Now look, when I say your people, think being 10, 11, 12, like all you're used to seeing is like coloreds, right? For the most part.
With a bit of sprinkle in between.
But no, like, but you know what I mean? Like your community, like your family's colored, like your friends colored. Okay, when you go to school. But obviously, depending on the area, it's still, there's certain demographics in certain areas, right? So, unless you went to
I know, I grew up in a colored area, but I went to like a white school at the time.
Hence the difference. See?
But like,
white,
I went
posh.
to, at that time, not posh, but I mean, Model C, really mixed, mostly white, some colors, whatever.
Yeah.
At the time, now it's full on colors.
And that one, now that's the thing. So, and I think that was the weird thing, right? And actually, my wife, different, because she actually lived outside of Cape Town.
Yeah.
So it was a different vibe for you actually. But for me at least, like that's all I was used to, right? And then coming here, it was weird because like the people just, they were all different.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. It's like different, right? So I think that's something that we'll touch on more. But touching on like the fact that you came over here, right? So obviously you want to know certain experiences. Did you find any relatable stories
on the internet?
Yeah, anything.
Not really.
Okay, so then you only knew what? Did you know anybody here?
Yeah, we knew CIS family things. Yeah.
Okay, so that was like your only.
So that was like kind of our base of who we spoke to before, and we literally only spoke to them a whole lot when we were in MIQ because we came in the middle of COVID. Like we were on a critical purpose visa.
Oh, you guys were locked up. Yo, what a time.
So we had to
How was that?
do MIQ.
Oh, you don't have to answer, sorry.
I was 18 with a 2-year-old. We were locked in a hotel room for 10 days. We couldn't do a match.
See, now and I think that's what we need to touch on. Like,
MIQ is, what was MIQ stood for the people that don't know?
Lockdown. Like it was like a
isolation quarantine.
Make sure that you're COVID free.
To make sure that you were COVID free once you're coming out into the New Zealand community because there were really big on that and they obviously the virus. And we came from a hot zone because at that time South Africa was a red zone. We were red zone.
Yeah. Now tell people about that because like here's the thing, man. Like everybody back home think that when you go overseas, and I think you can relate to this, when you go overseas, the grass is green. Like everything is good, everything falls into place. And most people that's over here will try and paint that picture as well. Just because you don't also tell people, we went through those things. A lot of people like to just paint this perfect picture. Like, we're in New Zealand. There we go. So touch on that. Like you came here, your first couple of weeks, months, whatever. Sum it up though. But
it was really, really hard. We didn't know, like we had family things, but like it was a couple. We still keep in touch with them. They were really good to us when we came. So like, thank goodness for them. They kind of showed us the ropes and took us in for a little bit while we were trying to find a place and stuff. But they really helped us out. But that was all that we knew. They were all that we knew. And we were away from family. We were a 2-year-old. It's hard. 2 days, kids without a village. We're used to it now, but it still gets hard. But at that time, it just felt so overwhelming. My husband was not super keen on immigrating initially, so it was really me pushing him and kind of just, we weren't doing this for us. We were doing this for our son, for his future, or for future kids of ours. But it was really, really challenging, and it's also it's a big life shift, right?
Yeah.
It's starting from scratch, and we were 29 years old. We were going to be 30, right, when we moved here. So it was that, but then it was also really financially taxing. Like it was hard, and it was in the middle of COVID, and it was just after a very tough period. Like I just lost my dad, and it was challenging. It was really hard. So, but we always looked at what was our goal, right? And even if we wanted to go back, and believe me, there were times when we wanted to move back.
Yeah.
We were like, we invested way too much in this. Way too much emotions,
so
way too much finances. There was just no going back. We had to kind of just go with it and hope for the best and and
trust
in God that it was a good move for us and for our children.
Yeah.
Our kid at the time, I have 2 now. But
time flies. No, that is challenging, and I think that is the biggest thing. It's like people won't tell you that side of things. They'll just again, oh no, we're living in New Zealand or we're living wherever else in the world. And honestly, like I think the why is important, right? But from a perspective like a child, like I mean, if you look at me, right? Like I was saying, 12 years old.
Yeah, like, how was that for you? Because that's a totally different time, and that wasn't your choice ultimately.
Yeah. So now that's the thing, right? Like you get excited, and I remember leaving Cape Town. Like there's this hype that comes with it. Oh, they're moving overseas because a lot of people move overseas.
People always think like you're going to be earning the big bucks because you're going overseas, and that's not the case. But we'll go back.
Well, I mean, I wasn't earning money. I was 12 years old.
Yeah, but I know what you mean. Like like your parents or with us.
But yeah, and that's the thing. So it's like there's this big hype before you go, and we get excited. So like obviously my mom and dad was like, we're moving countries and blah blah blah.
Why did they decide? Why did they decide? Because that time it wasn't a big deal. South Africa wasn't in such shambles at that stage.
Yeah. Crime.
So, I mean, it was like actually, crime, right?
Yeah, like, actually, you know what?
Decided to immigrate.
Now, I think you know what? At the time, like my auntie actually came over to New Zealand.
Okay.
And they came to New Zealand, but they went to London first because I wanted to see that, and then they came to New Zealand. And in that time, like this is the idea that was being floating around, like go overseas. And then I remember we also went to a meeting to go to like the Middle East. What was it, like Libya or Bahrain or something? I don't remember. But that didn't work out because they scam people in South Africa every now and then. So that was like a big fake scam. But anyway, when my auntie moved to New Zealand, they painted that picture. That's the thing. They literally painted that picture. And it was like this, oh, come to New Zealand. And that was not that was the problem, but that was the hype. That was the big hype. So we obviously got excited. You're going to see your cousins, you're going to go to this new country, blah, blah, blah. I hyped it up. And obviously being 12 years old, you hop onto that pretty quickly. And at the time, obviously, there was also, I think, a couple of months before we moved, there was a break-in by our place, actually. And that actually frightened us quite a bit, right? Okay. So we remember that. It was quite, fresh in the memory. So all of this happened at the time, and I thought my parents said, right, this is the right time to move. And we made the move. So that was fine. I remember what they went through, and I think what they went through, you guys, which you'll touch on more, I guess, is what they went through, the struggles, the sacrifices. But from my perspective, it was the weirdest thing. So it was this foreign place, foreign people, so many different cultures, obviously Europeans, whites, Asians, it and was weird.
That was like 20 years ago.
Yeah, that was 2005.
There wasn't as many
colored
South Africans, Muslims
yeah.
as there are now.
And I'll tell you this, it's weird because you actually, weird enough, there were times that I actually thought to myself, how cool would it be if I went to school and I actually ran into another South African, like a colored, bruh.
Did you?
I actually did, fortunately. So when I went to my intermediate schools, when I started year 8, and fortunately enough, there was 3 guys who actually, 3 guys that was in the same school from Cape Town, and I basically, that made things a bit easier because I was like, this is my people, so it made things a little bit easier, right?
Yeah.
But it was strange. I didn't know how to navigate. You'll see. In fact, it's funny. I have to touch on this because you're gonna listen to this accent that I have now, which is just my normal colored accent, right?
No, it's
but
Western.
Look here. Have you heard yourself talk when you talk to the people? Yeah.
Yeah. Look, when I'm at work, also I don't sound like this only because people that I don't understand because our South African accent is really strong and we enunciate words and people should be able to understand us, right?
Yeah.
Right? But they don't. So you do put a little bit of a twang on, and most is just
and that's it. No, it's look here.
One day is gonna do it for you guys.
Look here, you'll see some of my other videos. I thought.
Just go Google.
But look here,
Google him.
Look here, it's quiet. Okay. Go watch that videos. You will see.
Okay.
But anyway, the point that I was trying to make before you rudely interrupted me, was that
you made something.
Yeah, but the reason for that is when you were speaking to for example, the Kiwis, right?
Yeah.
They didn't get you. They didn't understand you. Yeah. So as a 12-year-old, because I think we're still gonna get into juicy topics, but anyway, people will look at you and say, "Oh yeah, you're New Zealand and you've changed your accent," and well, yeah. Number one. Number two, get over yourself. It's really not a big deal. It's not a major.
But you didn't change your accent. You adapted.
But that's the thing, though. Right? Most people won't see it that way, and that's what we need to touch on because people look at you.
You don't speak like that when you speak to your family or your kids.
No.
Or whatever.
But the thing is, people will look at you and they'll say "Oh, look how this brat changed his accent," right? And this is the thing with South Africans in college. And I'm going to touch on this, is that we like to pull on people down. We like to and we like to kick them in the down. It's not. Yes, as a 12-year-old, absolutely. I wanted to change my accent because I didn't feel like I fit in. Exactly. I'm not going to run away from that fact.
Right? You're going to succumb to a little bit of peer pressure and you don't sound like everyone else. And
exactly.
You want to belong.
Yeah.
Especially at that age, you want to belong.
Oh, and that's the thing. So you'll see this, and we're going to go into this more. I feel like I said, we can split this up into a couple of parts. But anyway, that was something big that that as a child, it was strange fitting in. And I think you need to know for your child, especially being 12 years old, smack bang in the middle of, I've got my foundation as a colored boy, South African, to a whole new start. So I've got my foundation, and now my very foundation is non-existent. Because when I come here, it's what do I do? What else? So that's strange. I think coming over, my brothers, for example, they were my youngest was maybe 5, 4, easier something when he came over. It's easier.
My son was.
There's not as much memory, so it's a little bit.
It's easier to adapt.
Yeah. Exactly.
But when you already have a certain way of being established friend group back home, it's very different. But ultimately, now, from where you were 20 years ago, and from even where I was 3 years ago, like you said, you touched on grasses and roses, always been, or is it? But right now, like, ultimately, was that a good choice? Was
Absolutely.
the impression of a choice?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, well, how much time do we have? Well, that's the thing. How much time do we have? We've got like
minutes.
5 minutes. Is that
this
it?
is only part one. We'll talk a little bit about
more.
more in part two. But ultimately, what?
Okay, I'll tell you. I think that's going to be a longer topic.
Yeah, but just quick. Like I South Africans also.
You get to see the world from a different perspective or different sort of, I guess, point of view. Oh, there's the little man coming in. I like how you like trying to like push him to the side. 2 minutes. Real, told you. Absolutely. Look, at the end of the day, and I was actually going to ask you because I want to sort of touch on like some not controversial, but some like important topics, man. When people judge and they look at you a certain way, and you get to view the world as a colored that is outside of South Africa. Now that for me is big because a lot of South Africans won't even leave their own city. And when they go on like when you know, some of them will go on holiday and their holiday is like literally within the country. So you don't know what you don't know,
but
man.
Why? Is it because they choose not to go? Is it because they don't have the opportunity?
Sure, that's a whole other topic. Yeah. That's another topic. Well, I think it's because they don't know what they don't know. I don't think it's that they can't, because I know if I think of like my family, friends over there, they can make stuff happen. They can really make stuff happen, but their why is not big enough because they don't know what they don't know. So obviously something clicked in you as parents, something clicked in like my parents, you know, the wife's parents, like something clicked that, yeah, we need to get out because we see something bigger. I don't know what it was. And I think that's the thing. We can see the world as colored, as South Africans from outside of South Africa. And that's different. You view the world in a completely different lens. Like it's completely different. Whereas if you're in South Africa or in the particular country you're in and you have not made the change, you only know what you know. So
at the end of the
that's
day,
the thing.
We don't regret. Like, I mean, it wasn't his choice, it was his parents' choice, but
no.
I think I can speak for both of us when I say we don't think that decision came in there. That was a very good decision. It's a good decision for our kids. We are able to now give them a future that they probably wouldn't have had in South Africa just because of the way things are going. No shade to South Africa and now South Africa. If it wasn't for having my child, I wouldn't have even considered it. We only thought about it after I had literally given birth to him, and I was like, I cannot raise a child in South Africa the way it's going. So it's a much safer, child-friendly life that we're living here. But that's not to say it's not without its challenges. Yeah, I think that's a big thing. There is pros and cons. Yeah. Like, and we'll touch on that. We'll touch on this up. Yeah, it is what you make of it. It is what you make of it. Eventually, it does get clean. I heard a child that is a cute. So we have to end this over here, but we will be talking about this a little bit more. Yep, there'll be a part 2 to this. Yeah. We wanted to get the start of this idea. Came a couple months ago, and the biggest thing is like starting. So that's what we wanted to do. Start it up, and we're gonna touch on a lot of topics. But for now, what's the outro? The outro is goodbye. Have a good day or night, wherever you're on this world. I have to done. Peace out. Yeah. Children's calling. See you to the sky, make we raise our voice high. Sing with the birds as they fly by. Sing out your praise.